The Mexico-United States border is an international border running from Tijuana, Baja California, and Imperial Beach, California, in the west to Matamoros, Tamaulipas, and Brownsville, Texas, in the east. The border, separating Mexico and the United States from each other, traverses a variety of terrains, ranging from major urban areas to inhabitable deserts. From the Gulf of Mexico, it follows the course of the Rio Grande to the border crossing at El Paso, Texas, and Ciudad Juárez, Chihuahua. Westward from that binational conurbation it crosses vast tracts of the Sonoran and Chihuahuan Desert, the Colorado River Delta, westward to the binational conurbation of San Diego, California, and Tijuana before reaching the Pacific Ocean. The border's total length is 3,145 km, according to figures given by the International Boundary and Water Commission. It is the most frequently crossed international border in the world, with approximately 350 million legal crossings being made annually. Geography. Border region. The 1,969-mile international border follows the middle of the Rio Grande according to the 1848 Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo between the two nations, along the deepest channel from its mouth on the Gulf of Mexico a distance of 2,019 km to a point just upstream of El Paso and Ciudad Juárez. It then follows an alignment westward overland and it is marked by monuments for a distance of 858 km to the Colorado River, when it reaches its highest elevation at the intersection with the Continental Divide. Thence it follows the middle of that river northward a distance of 38 km, and then it again follows an alignment westward overland and marked by monuments a distance of 226 km to the Pacific Ocean. The official border region extends 60 km north and south of the aforementioned boundaries and 60 km east in the Gulf of Mexico and 60 km west into the Pacific Ocean. The region is characterized by deserts, rugged hills, abundant sunshine, and two major rivers the Colorado and the Rio Grande which provide life-giving waters to the largely arid but fertile lands along the rivers in both countries. Border states. The U.S. states along the border, from west to east, are California, Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. The Mexican states are Baja California, Sonora, Chihuahua, Coahuila, Nuevo León, and Tamaulipas. In the United States, Texas has the longest stretch of the border of any state, while California has the shortest. In Mexico, Chihuahua has the longest border, while Nuevo León has the shortest. Texas borders four Mexican states Tamaulipas, Nuevo León, Coahuila, and Chihuahua the most of any U.S. state. New Mexico and Arizona each border two Mexican states. California borders only Baja California. Three Mexican states border two U.S. states each. Baja California borders California and Arizona. Sonora borders Arizona and New Mexico. And Chihuahua borders New Mexico and Texas. Tamaulipas, Nuevo León, and Coahuila each border only one U.S. state, Texas. Crossings. There are currently 45 U.S.-Mexico border crossings with 330 ports of entry. From west to east, below is a list of the border city twinnings, which are municipalities connected by one or more legal border crossings. San Diego, California Tijuana, Baja California, Otay Mesa, California Tijuana, Baja California, Tecate, California Tecate, Baja California, Calexico, California Mexicali, Baja California, Andrade, California Los Algodones, Baja California, San Luis, Arizona San Luis Rio Colorado, Sonora, Lucaville, Arizona Sonota, Sonora, Sasab, Arizona Alta, Sonora, Nogales, Arizona Nogales, Sonora, Naco, Arizona Naco, Sonora, Douglas, Arizona Agua Prieta, Sonora, Antelope Wells, New Mexico Albirrendo, Chihuahua, Columbus, New Mexico Palomas, Chihuahua, Santa Teresa, New Mexico. San Cube-Nimo, Chihuahua, El Paso, Texas Ciudad Juárez, Chihuahua, Fabens, Texas Euro Praxedis G. Guerrero, Chihuahua Municipality, Fort Hancock, Texas Euro El Porvenir, Chihuahua, Presidio, Texas Euro Ojinaga, Chihuahua, Heath Canyon, Texas Euro La Linda, Coahuila, Del Rio, Texas Euro Ciudad Acua plus or minus a, Coahuila, Eagle Pass, Texas Euro Piedras Negras, Coahuila, Laredo, Texas Euro Nuevo Laredo, Tamaulipas, Laredo, Texas Euro Columbia, Nuevo Lequiden, Falcon Heights, Texas Euro Presa Folca Cubden, Tamaulipas, Roma, Texas Euro Ciudad Miguel, Alamaen, Tamaulipas, Rio Grande City, Texas Euro Ciudad Camargo, Tamaulipas, Los Ebanos, Texas Euro Gustavo Diaz Ordaz, Tamaulipas, Mission, Texas Euro Reynosa, Tamaulipas, Hidalgo, Texas Euro Reynosa, Tamaulipas, FAR, Texas Euro Reynosa, Tamaulipas, Donna, Texas Euro Rio Bravo, Tamaulipas, Progreso, Texas Euro Nuevo Progreso, Tamaulipas, Los Indios, Texas Euro Matamoros, Tamaulipas, Brownsville, Texas Euro Matamoros, Tamaulipas. For a list of legal border crossings of the Mexico-Euro-US border, see List of Mexico-Euro-United States border crossings. The total population of the borderlands Euro-defined as those counties and municipios lining the border on either side Euro stands at some 12 million people. History. In the mid-16th century, with the discovery of silver, settlers from a variety of countries and backgrounds began to arrive in the area. This period of sparse settlement included colonizers from different backgrounds. The area technically was part of the Spanish colony, but due to the lack of population and the diverse citizenry it had, it did not seem to belong to any country. This period lasted until the early 19th century, at which point the United States bought the lands known as the Louisiana Purchase from France and began to expand steadily westward in its pursuit of manifest destiny. The border itself was not clearly defined and remained so until the Mexican colony became independent from Spain and entered a period of political instability. Mexico attempted to create a buffer zone at the border that would prevent possible invasion from the north. In order to do so, the Mexican government encouraged thousands of their own citizens to settle in the region that is now known as Texas and even offered very inexpensive land to settlers from the United States in exchange for populating the area. The influx of people did not provide the defense that Mexico had hoped for, and instead Texas declared its independence in 1836. That independence lasted until 1845, when the United States annexed Texas. The constant conflicts in the Texas region in the mid-19th century eventually led to the Mexican-American War, which began in 1846 and ended in 1848 with the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. Due to the treaty, Mexico lost more than 960,000 square miles of land, 55% of its national territory, including what is today California, Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, Nevada and parts of Colorado, Wyoming, Kansas, and Oklahoma. In addition, all disputes over Texas and the disputed territory between Rio Grande and Rio Nueces were abandoned. 5 years later, the Gadsden Purchase completed the creation of the current United States-Mexico border. The purchase was initially to accommodate a planned railway right-of-way. These purchases left approximately 300,000 people living in the once disputed lands, many of whom were Mexican nationals. Following the establishment of the current border, a number of towns sprang up along this boundary, and many of the Mexican citizens were given free land in the northern regions of Mexico in exchange for returning and repopulating the area. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo and the Treaty of 1884 were the agreements originally responsible for the settlement of the international border, both of which specified that the middle of Rio Grande was the border irrespective of any alterations in the channels or banks. The Rio Grande shifted south between 1852 and 1868, with the most radical shift in the river occurring after a flood in 1864. By 1873 the river had moved approximately 600 acres, cutting off land that was in effect made United States territory. By a treaty negotiated in 1963, Mexico regained most of this land in what became known as the Comizal Dispute and transferred 264 acres in return to the United States. Border treaties are jointly administered by the International Boundary and Water Commission, which was established in 1889 to maintain the border, allocate river waters between the two nations, and provide for flood control and water sanitation. Once viewed as a model of international cooperation, in recent decades the IBWC has been heavily criticized as an institutional anachronism, bypassed by modern social, environmental and political issues. The economic development of the border region on the Mexican side of the border depended largely on its proximity to the United States due to its remoteness from the commercial centers in Mexico. During the years of Mexican President Porfirio Díaz, between 1876 and 1910, growth of the border communities boomed due mostly to its close ties to the United States and the Mexican government's support for financial investments from the United States. Railroads were built that connected the northern Mexican states more to the United States than to Mexico, and the population grew tremendously. The mining industry also developed, as did the United States unregistered trademark control of it. By the early 20th century, companies from the United States controlled 81% of the mining industry and had invested $500 million in the Mexican economy overall, 25% of which went to the border regions alone. The Mexican Revolution, caused at least partially by the increasing animosity towards foreign ownership of Mexican properties, began in 1910. The revolution increased the political instability in Mexico, but actually did not significantly slow United States investment. It did reduce economic development within Mexico, however, and the border regions reflected this. As the infrastructure of communities on the United States side of the boundary continued to improve, its Mexican counterparts began to fall behind in the construction of important transportation networks and systems necessary to municipal development, as well as the upkeep of systems already in place. Security, U.S.-Mexico border enforcement. The U.S.-Mexico border has the highest number of legal crossings of any land border in the world. Over 5 million cars and trucks travel through the border annually. According to Volami, 1 in 5 Mexican nationals will visit or work in the United States at one point in their lifetime. The border is guarded by more than 20,000 Border Patrol agents, more than any time in its history. However, they only have effective control of less than 700 miles of the 1,954 miles of total border, with an ability to actually prevent or stop illegal entries along 129 miles of that border. The border is paralleled by United States Border Patrol interior checkpoints at major roads generally between 25 and 75 miles to the U.S. side of the border, and garritas generally within 50 km of the border on the Mexican side. There are an estimated 500,000 illegal entries into the United States each year. Border Patrol activity is concentrated around big border cities such as San Diego and El Paso, which do have extensive border fencing. This means that the flow of illegal immigrants is diverted into rural mountainous and desert areas, leading to several hundred migrant deaths along the Mexico-US border of those attempting to cross into the United States from Mexico illegally. The Secure Fence Act of 2006 was passed, providing for the construction of 700 miles of high-security fencing. Attempts to complete the construction of the United States-Mexico barrier have been challenged by the Mexican government and various US-based organizations. In January 2013, the Government Accountability Office released a report stating that the United States Border Patrol only intercepts 61% of individuals illegally crossing the border in 2011, which translated to 208,813 individuals not being apprehended. 85,827 of the 208,813 would go on to illegally enter the United States, while the rest returned into Mexico. The report also showed that the number of illegal border crossings have dropped. Border incursions. According to the United States Border Patrol, in the fiscal year of 2006, there were 29 confirmed border incursions by Mexican government officials, of which 17 were by armed individuals. Since 1996 there have been 253 incursions by Mexican government officials. In 2014, United States Department of Homeland Security informed United States Representative Duncan D. Hunter, that since 2004, there have been 300 documented border incursions, which resulted in 131 individuals being detained. The Washington Times has reported that on Sunday, August 3, 2008, Mexican military personnel who crossed into Arizona from Mexico encountered a U.S. Border Patrol agent, whom they held at gunpoint. The soldiers later returned to Mexico, as backup Border Patrol agents came to investigate. Disagreements over need for more resources. Proponents of greater spending on the border especially politicians from border states argue that continuing the build-up is necessary due to increased violence and drug trafficking from Mexico spilling over into the United States. However, critics such as the Washington Office on Latin America have argued that the build-up has led to a confusing, uncoordinated tangle of agencies and that a comprehensive border security strategy is needed in order to better focus spending. Environmental health of the border region. History. The La Paz Agreement was signed into law on August 14, 1983 and became enforceable on February 16, 1984. This agreement to protect the environment is the political foundation between the U.S. and Mexico for 4 subsequent programs. Each program has addressed environmental destruction in the border region resulting from the rise of the maquiladora industries, those who migrated to northern Mexico to work in the industries, the lack of infrastructure to accommodate the people, Mexico's lax regulations concerning all these factors, the resulting spillover into the U.S., and the U.S.'s own environmentally destructive tendencies. The programs were IBEP, Border XXI, Border 2012 and Border 2020. Travel. Western Hemisphere Travel Initiative. In late 2006, the United States Department of Homeland Security announced a rule regarding new identification requirements for U.S. citizens and international travelers entering the United States implemented on January 23, 2007. This final rule and first phase of the WHTI specifies 9 forms of identification, one of which is required in order to enter the United States by air: a valid passport, a passport card, a state-enhanced driver's license or state-enhanced non-driver ID card approved by the Secretary of Homeland Security, a Trusted Traveler Program card, an enhanced tribal identification card, a Native American tribal photo identification card, Form I-872, a Euro-American Indian card, a valid merchant mariner document when traveling in conjunction with official maritime business, or a valid U.S. military identification card when traveling on official orders. Auto insurance. Auto insurance does not travel across the Mexico-United States border. Therefore, people wishing to cross the border with a vehicle may choose to buy a short-term auto insurance policy for the country and/or state that they are crossing into. If the state in the country requires auto insurance, a policy that meets the state's liability requirements must be purchased before the vehicle may cross. Those in the United States who want to cross into Mexico with a car may choose to purchase a short-term Mexican auto insurance policy. Busiest border. The busiest border in the world is located in the U.S. Mexico to be more specific, San Diego to Tijuana at the San Isidro port of entry. In the United States, Interstate 5 crosses directly to Tijuana, and the highway's southern terminus is this crossing. In 2005, more than 17 million vehicles and 50 million people entered the United States at the San Isidro port of entry. Many people who cross the border are workers with dual nationalities of United States and Mexico. Crossing time is very slow in San Isidro for people who are going towards San Diego in cars. Many people also cross the border by walking and use public transportation to go to San Diego or to go to San Isidro. The fence. The U.S. government had plans in 2006, during the Bush administration, to erect a border fence along the U.S.-Mexico border. The controversial proposal included creating many individual fences. Almost 600 miles of fence was constructed, with each of the individual fences composed of steel and concrete. In between these fences are infrared cameras and sensors, National Guard soldiers, and SWAT teams on alert, giving the name a virtual fence. Construction on the fence began in 2006, with each mile costing the U.S. government about $2.8 million. In 2010, The initiative was terminated due to costs after having completed 640 miles of either barrier fence or vehicle barriers that was either new or had been rebuilt over older inferior fencing. The Boeing-built Spynet systems of using radar, watchtowers, and sensors were scrapped for being over budget, full of glitches and far behind schedule. Animals. When animals are imported from one country to another, there is the possibility that diseases and parasites can move with them. For this reason, most countries impose animal health regulations on the import of animals. Most animals imported to the United States must be accompanied by import permits obtained in advance from the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service and/or health certification papers from the country of origin. Veterinary inspections are often required, and are available only at designated ports. Advance contact with port veterinarians is recommended. Animals crossing the United States-Mexico border may have a country of origin other than the country where they present for inspection. Such animals include those from the U.S. that cross to Mexico and return, and animals from other countries that travel overland through Mexico or the U.S. before crossing the border. Crossing from Mexico to the United States, APHIS imposes precautions to keep out several equine diseases, including glanders, diarrhea, equine infectious anemia, equine pyroplasmosis, Venezuelan equine encephalitis, and contagious equine metritis. APHIS also checks horses to prevent the introduction of ticks and other parasites. In the lower Rio Grande Valley, U.S. Department of Agriculture inspectors look for horses and livestock that stray across the border carrying ticks. These animals are often called wet stock, and the inspectors are referred to as tick riders. Per APHIS, horses originating from Canada can enter the United States with a Canadian government veterinary health certificate and a negative test for EIA. Horses from Mexico must have a health certificate. Pass negative tests for EIA, diarrhea, glanders, and EP at a USDA import center. And undergo precautionary treatments for external parasites at the port of entry. Horses from other Western Hemisphere countries must have the same tests as those from Mexico and, except for horses from Argentina, must be held in quarantine for at least 7 days as a check for VEE. APHIS imposes similar testing and certification requirements on horses from other parts of the world but without the quarantine for VEE. These horses are held in quarantine usually 3 days or until tests are completed. Because the disease equine pyroplasmosis is endemic in Mexico but not established in the United States, transportation of horses from Mexico to the United States requires evaluation of horses for the presence of this disease. Transportation of horses from Mexico to the United States normally requires at least 3 days in quarantine, which is incompatible with most recreational equestrian travel across the border. A leading exception to this rule is the special waiver obtained by riders participating in the Cabalgata Binacional Vilista. Crossing from the United States to Mexico, import from the United States to Mexico requires evidence within the prior 45 days of freedom from equine infectious anemia, among other requirements. See also: ATF gun walking scandal, Border Field State Park, Border Film Project, Border Protection, Anti-Terrorism, and Illegal Immigration Control Act of 2005, International Boundary and Water Commission, International Boundary Changes between the United States and Mexico, International Child Abduction in Mexico, List of crossings of the Rio Grande, List of Mexico-United States border crossings, List of municipalities and counties on the Mexico-United States border, Mexico-United States barrier, Mexico-United States relations, migrant deaths along the Mexico-United States border, Minuteman Project, New River, Open Border, Reconquista, Rio Grande border disputes, Roosevelt Reservation. S2611, San Diego Tijuana Metropolitan Area, San Isidro, San Diego, Secure Fence Act of 2006, Southwest Border Security Consortium, Texas Virtual Border Watch, Treaty of Limits, References. Parts of this article have been adapted from the International Boundary and Water Commission, its mission, organization and procedures for solution of boundary and water problems. Arbeláez, Harvey, and Claudio Millman. The New Business Environment of Latin America and the Caribbean. International Journal of Public Administration, 553, Kelly, Patricia, and Douglas Massey. Borders for Whom? The Role of NAFTA in Mexico-U.S. Migration. The Annals of the American Academy of Political Science 610, 98-118. Miller, Tom. On the Border, Portraits of America Unregistered Trademark S. Southwestern Frontier, 1981. Thompson, Olivia N. Binational Water Management, Perspectives of Local Texas Officials in the U.S.-Mexico Border Region. Applied Research Projects. Texas State University. Paper 313. Andrew Becker and Agustin Armendariz. California Border Crossing, San Isidro Port of Entry is the busiest land border in the world. 1, HuffPost Social Reading, article on California Watch. Prampolini, Gaetano, and Anna Maria Pinazzi. The Shade of the Saguaro La Sombra del Saguaro Part 4 About the Border. Firenze University Press http www.fupress.com/461-517. External links, U.S.-Mexico Business Council, picture of U.S.-Mexico border, border stories, a mosaic documentary on the U.S.-Mexico border, border town Dallas Observer, A Continent Divided, the U.S.-Mexico War, Center for Greater Southwestern Studies, the University of Texas at Arlington, David Taylor, The Journey to Border Monument No. 140, photographs and description of the obelisks that mark the border, status of Mexican trucks in the United States, frequently asked questions Congressional Research Service.